For the record, Kareen, could you please greet us in your mother tongue?
Magandang umaga.
Thank you.
And where are you from?
I am originally from the Philippines.
Which village? Tell us a little bit about the town.
It's the southern part of the Philippines. The city is called Davao City, and it is actually the most popular city in the Philippines at the moment because the current president is from there. So it's warm, it's humid, but it has a lot of white sand beach.
Really?
Yes, it is.
Is it a tourist destination?
Majority of it, yes, but the city itself, it's because it's the most, peaceful city in the country. There's a lot of foreign visitors in there, and just about 20 minutes on the boat across from the city to the other island, which is part of the city as well, is a tourist island, and that's where the white sand beaches are, and that's where my land is as well.
What are the colours? When you think about your hometown, what colours come to mind?
Green, white, and clear blue waters. That's because it's the most the biggest city in the Philippines as well by land, and it's not overpopulated like Manila. So there are a lot of spaces. It's spacious. It hasn't got any skyscraper like what they do in Manila, and that's what I love about it. It's because it's huge. It's not overpopulated. It's traffic, but it's not as traffic as Manila as well. So the life in there is a little bit slower paced than Manila.
Tell us a little bit about you when you were a child, your school, what you did, a day in your life.
When I was a child, I was part of the national folk dance, and we do all the cultural dances, and part of them actually is quite influenced by the Spanish. A lot of the dances is influenced by them, and where the city I've come from is majority of the. It's not just all Christianity. The majority of the population are Muslims, but we are all in one community, and some of them are the indigenous people from back home. Some of them probably are Malay or Indonesian, but they've come across down to a part of the world because they're quite close to Davao City, so it's quite easy for them to cross by boat probably in that time. So I think this is the reason why Philippines got a lot of dialect. It's because it's coming from different tongues, like from Indonesia probably, and the Muslim as well is this different hierarchy of Muslims back down south. So majority of my friends actually were Muslims because there's not much Christians, where I've come from. But it is a different story now. But I love when I was young, the beach, and the ocean was like my place. From the age of 12, I'll sneak out. I'm just gonna go to the beach, but the beach is only about 10 minutes walk from where I lived. So I'll play with my friends. But this part of the beach is because of the volcanic, we're near the volcano as well. It's black sand, but the most popular destination is the white sand. But for us children who could just walk down the beach, it's water, it's the beach, it's black sand. It doesn't really matter as long as, friends are there. The best memory I've ever had is always at the beach, as I was growing up, parties are taken in the beach. And as a family as well, the tradition is to go to the beach and celebrate Christmas the following morning. So when I first came here and people's like, oh, you don't have, a white Christmas. I'm like, what do you mean white Christmas? And in this country, it was snow. I'm like, oh, I do have white Christmas. It's white sand beach Christmas. So yeah, it's warm and I love it there, and it's that kind of life that I am hoping to retire to one day.
Tell us about your schooling. What time you went, what you did.
Oh, school was the longest time ever. I always remember this. This is what I hate. We get up at 5 a.m, go to school at 7, finish at 5 in the afternoon. And it's Monday to Friday. And it's all the subject. And the longest subjects we have is maths, English, and science. And the majority of the subject are actually taught in English. And there's only one subject that is taught in our language, which is Tagalog. And then, the teachers teaches the literacy in English, but because of the American influence, is the American English that we have.
So you learnt to spell in American?
Yes, we all spell in American, but I found out the American English is actually the old American, the old English English.
Really?
That's what I found out, yeah. Because of the spelling, the spellings now that we have is actually influenced by the French. There you go. Learned something new.
So you got up at 5 in the morning?
Yes, 5 in the morning.
Started school at 7?
7, yeah. So I remember the travel because I was already 8 when my mum, no, I was 10 when my mum always out of town because my dad died in December. That was December. I was just 10, and of course she was working, and I go walk to school, and school was about 45 minutes walk. It wasn't bad, but when I say 45 minutes walk, I have to cross a river, but not physically cross the river. There is a tiny boat and it goes around, but there's a lot of traffic, and it's just not. It's this 2 blocks that I have to to cross, but at that time it wasn't really a bother. I had my sister was with me as well, obviously, even though I'm 10, and we just walk.
Is she younger than you?
No, she's older than me. She's 5 years older, so she was already in secondary when when I started walking. And then she keeps saying, "Oh, you're very lucky. You had me when I was growing up. I didn't have anybody 5 years older." So there's a lot of difference. Yeah, school was You see, school is very important back home. It's education, and the aspiration is for every parent is actually to for the children to have a degree in any field, and that would be an achievement for them. And our culture really is different from this culture, because in here, when the children are grown up, that's it, isn't it? But back home, when the children are grown up or professional, then there's the responsibility on our shoulder to actually look after our parents, provide for our parents, and anything that they need is provided by the children. And because it's an investment, and it's not all in here. When you work for someone, you've got the benefits of having your pension. That before then, or until now, it's still not properly implemented in some areas of the Philippines. Yes, but especially those in remote area, they don't have, things like that. Especially my grandparents at the moment. My mum, while my mum was here, my mum was supporting them. And now the responsibility is actually on our shoulders. Those of, especially me and the rest of my cousins that are abroad, were the ones sending money to my grandfather to, to support him. Wow. So that is the hierarchy of helping families, and majority of us as a family, I've come from a huge family. There's 12 siblings on my parents' side, and there's probably about 60 odd of us cousins, so it's a lot of us. And but because of poverty back home and difficulty of sending children to school, even though probably costs about £100 for the tuition fee, to go to the elementary or high school, but that is a lot of money for people who hasn't got a profession. That's why over there it's all we are all brought up to think that you need to go to school to be educated, but the problem is everybody's willing to learn, but it's the money that's not there, and not a lot of people can afford school, especially college. The high school and the the elementary, they're fine, but when you go to college, that's when it gets too expensive. And majority of my cousins they couldn't afford that. I think in the family there's only me who's got a qualification.